Rock and Roll Geek Show 746.
Still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA. Online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original Rock and Roll Geek, Michael Butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Thursday, December 1st, 2016, when I'm recording this intro, and it is 6:51 p.m. Tonight I'm going to be doing part 3 of the Lost Rockers series. I talked to Tony Mann several days, about 4 days ago, something like that, and we went through part 3. We've already done 2 parts, got part 3 and part 4 to go. So that's what I'm playing for you tonight, part 3 of this book called Lost Rockers, Broken Dreams, and Crash Careers by Stephen Blush, Paul Rachman, and Tony Mann, who's a friend of the Rock and Roll Geek Show, and he's been so kind as to do a 4-part series. We're doing every artist in the book. We're going chapter by chapter in the book. I highly suggest you get this book. It's really entertaining. I'm not a fan of most of the music in this book, of the artists in this book, but I am a fan of good rock and roll stories, and this book has plenty of them. How many are there total? Let me look in the... so far, we've done like 11 or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot. Tonight, we're going to be doing 4 or 5. Let me see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're doing 4 tonight, and then we're going to do 5 for part 4. Tonight's a good one. It starts off with Gloria Jones, who is, she's kind of known to me, but her music was unknown until I found out that she actually wrote a bunch of hit songs, which Tony says she never got paid for. And she was also known as Marc Bolan's love of his life as well. Well, you'll hear that and more on the Tony when I get into this episode, part 3 of Lost Rockers. Thank you so much for your donations, friends, and thank you so much for listening to this Lost Rockers. I hope you're enjoying this. After this episode, I'm going to probably do another regular Rock and Roll Geek Show. Either that or I'm going to have Chris Capel, the rock and roll copywriter, is going to do a co-host. He sent me some really cool stuff. He sent me a really awesome Saluki bottle opener, which I don't know where he found that, but it's just amazing. Also, I want to thank Rodney Cross for sending me this really cool Alice Cooper stand-up figure. It's like, I don't know, it's about 16 inches tall. It's really, really cool. It's an Alice Cooper action figure. And in his hand, he's holding $100, rolled up $100. So thank you so much for that, Rodney Cross. I will thank you again on the donor segment, which I'm not going to be doing tonight because I want to get right into the Lost Rockers. But thank you so much for everybody for your donations. Without your donations, this show would die horrible, putrid, stench-filled, stepping in your shoe that your puppies crapped in kind of stench-filled death. All right. Thanks again, friends. I'm going to shut up, and there's going to be no kayak talk on this episode. Somebody sent me an email, which I will read on the next regular Rock and Roll Geek Show, trashing me about the Metallica track by track when I was talking about fishing over the track by track review. So I will no fishing tonight and no kayak stories, but maybe next time. All right. But thank you to that person who emailed me the hate mail. I like it. Keep the emails coming, hate or love, rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. Or you can just call me and cuss me out. Area code 706-621-ROCK. That's area code 706-621-7625. All right. I'll go through all that at the end. Enough of my yakking. Before I go into the Tony Man, excuse me, I'm choking. I need a sip of this fine Heineken. All right. Before I go into part 3 of the Lost Rockers, I think I'm going to start off with a song. Since the first artist we talk about on tonight's episode is Gloria Jones, who wrote a lot of songs. I had no idea that she wrote this song. This song was a major, major hit, and according to Tony Mann, she didn't see dime one of it. So, go figure. All right, here is that song. I'm not a big fan of the hit version, Marc Soft Cell, Tainted Love, but her version is not bad. It's more Motown-y. And apparently she had a lot of Motown hits, and she was also a record producer as well. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I'll let Tony Mann tell you, and I'll try to interrupt him as much as I can. All right, here is Gloria Jones, Tainted Love. Then we'll get right into the Lost Rockers Part 3.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to get away from the pain you drive into the heart of me. The love we share seems to go nowhere, and our love's not right. For I toss and turn, I can't sleep at night. Once I read to you, now I run from you. The tender love you're giving, I give you all a girl can give you. Take, not give, and that's not living. Oh, tainted love, tainted love. Now I know I've got to run away. I've got to get away. You don't really want any love from me to make things right. You need someone to hold you tight, and who think love is to play. Well, I'm sorry, I don't play that way. Once I read to you, now I run from you. The tainted love you're giving, I give you all the girl can give you. Take, not give, and that's not living. Oh, tainted love, tainted love. Don't touch me, please. I cannot stand the way you. I know you hurt me so. If I do not pack my things and go, tainted love, oh, tainted love, tainted love, oh,
Hey, Tony.
tainted love.
Hey, Michael.
What's going on?
How are you? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too. All right, so
All right. All right. I got one too.
good. Glad to hear it. So we got 2 more episodes. You okay doing the 2?
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks so much. I got a lot of great feedback from it too.
Yeah, so did
yeah,
I. A lot of people like the
All right.
book too.
yeah, great.
They don't like so much my interviews, but they like the book. No, they like the they like the
I
episodes.
like your interviews.
They like the episodes that we've done so far. Everybody's
That's great.
has given good feedback. So we last
Excellent.
left off on, I believe the last time we did one was Charlie Farron.
That's right. Yeah.
And today
That's
we're
right.
going to... Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get going, I want to take a sip of this fine Tecate.
Oh, well, let's take one together. 1,
All right.
2, 3, sip.
Cheers.
Ah!
That is good. Cheers.
Ah, the 5th one of the day, always the best, too.
The 5th. Yeah, okay. The holiday season has begun.
So, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do 4 more. I don't know how many more we have left, but we're going to do about 4 more tonight. We're going to
Great.
start off with a very good chapter in the book. By the way, the book, friends, if you're just tuning in on The Lost Rockers, this is episode 3 of the 4-part series on this book called Lost Rockers. It's written by Stephen Blush, Paul Rachman, and Tony Mann. And I have with me the great Tony Mann.
Thanks, Michael Butler.
This is a book about people who should have been famous, but for whatever reason, whether they had drug problems, got screwed by the record company, or screwed themselves, they never became really truly famous. some people more deserving than others. Some people extremely deserving, and a lot of talented people in here.
They're all great, and you may know something about them. You might know one of their songs, but maybe you don't know them. So yeah, trying to shed some light on some talented people.
Now, the first person that we're doing tonight is named Gloria Jones. If you know the band Soft Cell for their one hit, "Tainted Love," which I may or may not have played at the beginning of this episode, the person who wrote this song is named Gloria Jones. Is that correct, Tony Mann?
That is correct. And Gloria and Marc Bolan's family are like a family to me. I was just speaking to Gloria last night, as a matter of fact.
Gloria Jones was Marc Bolan's wife.
Well, she was never actually his wife.
They
were never actually married, but they had a son
that.
together.
Yeah, so they were true loves, from what I read.
Yes, they were.
It's a
yes,
great,
they were.
Great
they were
story.
soulmates.
I know. I hope I don't do a spoiler here, but a lot of people don't know, or maybe they do know. Marc Bolan had this really bad fear of being in cars. He had a fear of driving in cars because he was afraid of. His biggest fear was dying in a car crash. Mm-hmm. And he had a car, and we're going to get to the beginning of Gloria Jones. Well, fuck. He had a car. Gloria Jones was driving the car. She wrecked the car, and guess who died?
Right. Well, Marc actually never drove, even though he had a car.
That's right. Because he was terrified of dying in a car, and he died in a car. Talk about
and they a lot of times they had a driver, but they had lent out the driver to somebody that night. So yeah. So anyway, let's talk about Gloria Jones.
Tell me the story of Gloria Jones, because you know a lot more than I do about Gloria Jones. I just told you everything I know about Gloria Jones except for what I read in the book.
Okay. All right. Well, Gloria was born in Cincinnati. She grew up around the church. You know, her father was a minister, and her mom was the pianist. So she grew up around the church music. And then what happened is, she's singing in the church. And at one point, she wanted to get into show business. So she had to kind of leave the church to get into show business. This is at a time when show business was like a dirty word. And actually, she was in a group called the Kojics, okay? And the Kojics stands for Church of God in Christ Singers.
Oh, nice.
So the lineup of the Kojics had some pretty heavy duty people in it. Billy Preston, Andre Crouch, Edna Wright, and Blinky Willips and Gloria. And Edna Wright is the sister of Darlene Love. And Edna Wright was also in the Honeycomb. And I'm sure you've all heard of Billy Preston. So that was a very good friend of Gloria's, was Billy Preston. He was almost in the Beatles. He was almost in the Stones, and he had a lot of hits on his own. He was a great organ and keyboard player.
How old was she at this time?
She was 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was 14. It's in the early 60s. She's singing in the church. And, they were on VJ at the same time as the Beatles with the Kojics.
VJ Records.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, this is the time when, rock and roll is really starting to hit the big time at that era. And so they moved to L.A. This was in L.A., by the way. Her family moved to L.A., relocated from Ohio, where she's from. And then she had the Kojics, which is a gospel group with all these fantastic people, some of the most talented people ever. So her dad wanted her to have a real career of it. So she left the church. And the father talked to all the people around her and just said, look, don't want any funny business. She's a young girl, grew up in the church. I wanted just to do the shows, go back to the hotel. No funny business after that. She can't go out and party, can't do anything. Just do the music as a career.
Was the father the manager of her manager?
In a way. He was helping her develop her
So he kind of was on tour with her and made sure that she didn't get screwed around with by men. Yeah,
he went to the interviews, and he was respected because he was a minister.
Was she okay with that?
Yeah, she was fine with it. But the only thing was that she kind of wanted to have some fun sometimes, and sometimes it was just all business. So, and she was still very young at this time. She was still a kid. Okay. So anyway, Sam Cooke's manager got involved with her for a while, and she went to do some background vocal sessions for some people. And then Hal Davis hooked her up with Ed Cobb, who wrote some hits. So he wrote hits for like Brenda Holloway, Every Little Bit Hurts. These are, a lot of people won't really. He wrote Dirty Water. People would know that he wrote Dirty Water for the Standells.
Okay. Well, I love that dirty water. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so that's something general people would know. So anyway, she started doing songs with him. She did a couple versions of Heartbeat, and Billy Preston recorded the song as an instrumental, and it was like a local hit. It was never a big national hit. Okay, so then
when did she write Tainted Love?
This is 1965. And it was originally composed by Ed Cobb, but Ed Cobb isn't the most soulful guy in the world, and he was singing her how the melody should go, and then the way she sang it and the way we know it is the melody she came up with. So, that's how she composed it. Basically because a guy like Ed Cobb couldn't possibly sing it the way Gloria could. If you ever heard the original soul version of Tainted Love, you'll know what I mean. So you should check that out. The soul version by Gloria, the original version. She never really even actually liked the song, but a lot of times when people don't like the song, it's their big hit.
I'll bet she likes it now.
Well, she's got a love-hate relationship with it. What can I say?
She loves it when loves it when the checks comes, and hates it when the checks don't come.
Yeah. Well, Gloria has had and Marc Bolan have had a big history of not getting paid, even though these songs are all over the place. Doesn't mean people are getting the money.
So she didn't get paid for that song?
Yeah, she's had a really tough time getting paid. Seriously,
even
it's
with
been ridiculous.
Even with the soft cell royalties, because they must have sold millions of that record.
Yeah, well, it's bad deals.
She didn't. So when Soft Cell had the hits with that song, she didn't get.
She didn't make the money from that.
She didn't make any money from that song.
Yeah, so she's had a hard time getting paid. And this is a person, Gloria Jones went on to,
how can that be?
After all this, she started going on TV shows like Shindig and Hollywood A Go-Go, right? And, getting a little more popularity, right? She was in a L.A. Version of this musical called Catch My Soul. It was like a rock rendition of Othello. Okay. And Jerry Lee Lewis and Dr. John were in that with her, okay? And so she's in this cool musical. Then she was in the original LA cast of Hair. Okay.
Oh, was she naked? Because the cast was naked in that. That was a naked play.
She wasn't naked in that, but
she was not. Okay.
So what happened is.
By the way, you know who directed? You know who directed Hair?
The original one.
Yes, the Broadway musical Hair. I'll give you a hint. His name is Michael Butler. Okay.
Michael Butler. Yeah, same name as you.
Yes.
Same name as you, Michael Butler.
Irrelevant information, I know. Go ahead, sorry.
Anyway, so an original LA cast of Hair included Meatloaf.
That's right.
Joe Bryant, Jennifer Warnes, Melba Moore. There was a lot of people that eventually became famous.
That's right.
That were with her in the LA cast of Hair. And a clip from it was on the Smothers Brothers at the time on the TV show. Okay, so after one of those shows, Joe Bryant brought some of the actors to a party thrown by Miss Mercy of the GTOs. Okay,
of Frank Zappa.
And the event, yeah, exactly. So the event was a party for Tyrannosaurus Rex, Marc's early group with Steve Took. So Joe Bryant introduced Gloria to Marc at that party. But they didn't hit it off that time. Okay. So, anyway, what happened after this, she met a lyricist, Pam Sawyer, who was a songwriter, and these guys became big hit songwriters. They were writing songs for Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye, Gladys Knight. She wrote If I Were Your Woman, that very big hit for Gladys Knight. Songs for the Supremes. So, Gloria helped write over 100 songs for Motown. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, so she hooked up with this woman, and the two of them were writing songs for Motown together?
Yeah, a British-born lyricist, Pam Sawyer. Pam Sawyer, one of the songs she wrote, you might know, Ain't Gonna Eat Out My Heart Anymore, which was done by the Young Rascals and also later by Angel.
That's right, yes.
So anyway, these guys wrote songs together, and they wrote like 100 songs for Motown.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Did she get paid for any of those?
Well, yeah, she did get paid for some of that stuff, sure.
Good.
At this time, Lionel Richie would be singing on some of her demos, okay? And so she recommended that he become the lead singer of the Commodores.
Oh, he was playing saxophone at the time in the Commodores, and
she recommended that he be the lead singer, the frontman, and then that's what happened. So
she had a pretty good ear for music and for maybe stardom.
Yeah, and she really is. She's a talented musician, keyboard player, singer, songwriter, producer, all kinds of things. So
the two of them were record producers. Her and
Pam Sawyer.
Yeah,
right. Yep, they were, and
I would imagine being female record producers was kind of a rarity back then.
It was, and they would have to use tactics like the band would come to record, and they would be there in hot pants to try to get over on the guys, and so they would listen to what they were saying, and get the band drunk and all kinds of things, whatever they had to do to get people in line and working. They would do.
I'm looking at a picture. I'm looking at a picture of Gloria Jones. She has very nice legs.
It's a beautiful woman. Yeah, she's great, and she's a powerful singer.
Yeah.
And she sang background vocals on so many hit records, it's just ridiculous. I mean, she sang on all the early Ike and Tina Turner records.
Yep.
She sang on,
Leonard
Joe Cocker.
Sang Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.
Yep. Sweet Home Alabama. She sang on Little Feat, Dixie Chicken. She sang on The Stones, Salt of the Earth. She sang with Barry White. And she sang on so many hits with the Bee Gees. She sang on so many hits. Anything that sounds like that is either her or some people trying to be like her.
So that movie, let me ask you something. Remember that movie that came out about the background singers?
Yeah, she's in that talking about other people. She's in that movie. Okay. That's 20 Feet from Stardom.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie. She's in it. Okay.
She's in it talking about Mary Clayton, who Mary Clayton sang on Gimme Shelter.
Okay.
So she's in there not talking about herself, but talking about Mary Clayton. But she is in it, and she's great.
But she's also one of those background singers who was 20 feet from
Absolutely. But unlike them, she was also a songwriter and a producer. And she even later had a hit for produced for Gonzalez, Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet. And they wouldn't even go on tour unless she went with them on tour, and they end up touring with Bob Marley. So she's been a producer, songwriter, singer, musician, all kinds of stuff. And anyway, so she was on tour with Joe Cocker, right? And then she met Marc Bolan again, and then they hit it off.
Huh.
Okay? So then they were inseparable after that.
Now, what year was this? What year was it? 73?
Well, they actually met in 72. She got hired to sing background vocals for T-Rex at Winterland in San Francisco.
What album was T-Rex on in 73? Was Slider? Was Slider already out? No, Slider was Electric Warrior.
Yeah, it's already out. Already out.
What year did Electric Warrior come out?
71.
Okay, so Marc Bolan was actually on the tail end of his career when he met. Because Marc Bolan went into this lull of his career. He was still very popular in 1972, man. Really was. Well,
so what happened?
Electric Warrior was huge. The Slider was huge, and then he kind of took a downfall a little bit.
Well, yeah, he had a lot of phases of his career, but now the thing is, a lot of people are still rediscovering all that music all over the world, and he was far more popular in other countries compared to America. That's for sure.
So what what era was when he met Gloria Jones? What album was that around?
That's like Slider.
Okay, so he was still popular then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, anyway, so she was a background singer for him in the fall of '72 at Winterland. So then they were just together after that, okay? And so what happened is, she, like I told you, she'd be singing on Ike and Tina Turner records. Well, a lot of people may not know this, but Gloria and Marc Bolan are on one of Tina Turner's most famous songs, Nutbush City Limits.
I didn't know Marc Bolan was. Wasn't Marc
Yeah, he
Bolan...
even plays guitar on it, and yeah, they're on it.
Wasn't Marc Bolan married when he met her?
Yes, he was married to June, his first manager, and they never officially got a divorce. So he was married to June, his first wife, who was, well, his only wife, really legally, but she was his first manager.
So did she know about Gloria Jones? Did she know he was
Yes.
messing? So she knew that he was dating her, and she didn't care.
Well, yeah, they drifted apart.
Okay, so they stayed married. Still.
Yeah, yep. So the thing is that they're on a few of these like Tina Turner songs, but the most famous being Nutbush City Limits. Okay, so then okay, so she's in T-Rex now, right? And then decide that she's going to do a big Motown album, right? Which was called Share My Love. Came to be called Share My Love. This had a lot of top Motown session guys, and it was a very creative record, really cool record. And by the time they went to promote it and the album was coming out, they started putting up a billboard on Sunset Strip to advertise it, right? And she's pregnant with, their son Roland,
Marc Bolan's kid.
So, yeah, so she went to England to have a family with Marc, and she gave up the Motown career basically, and just went to have a family. Okay, at least for a bit. And what happened is Marc went through some changes with record companies. Okay. She went to Marc and T-Rex went to Casablanca Records with Neil Bogart, and they kept trying to crack through in America like a lot of these great British bands, but he was never really to have a hit in America again, unfortunately.
Did they ever did they ever record music as like together?
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, they did a duet of "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay," and they did a lot of recording together.
So did they release stuff as Marc Bolan and Gloria Jones?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did.
Yes, they did.
I went to the city port. City port took my blues away. I went to the city port. City port took my blues away. Took them all away. Yes, it did. I lost all my city cool when I bought your midget show. I grew all my debonair when I had the 1980s scare. No hair, that's right. I went to the seaside. A young love took my soul away. Pyramid eyes of the Persian skies removed my eyes and took his lies away. Took them all away, just like. When I bought your midget shop, city boy, took them all away. Well, it took them all away. Well, it took them all away. Well, it took them all away.
Remember that? I don't know if you ever saw the Midnight Special performance with T-Rex.
Yeah,
When he's
Gloria's
wearing-
on that.
She is. Okay, yeah. That is a fantastic performance. He's
Well,
ripping.
they were a rowdy rocking band,
Yeah, he
and they
was
were
ripping.
very, very loud band. I
Yeah.
saw them a lot, and I met Marc as a kid, and I met Gloria as a kid.
Huh.
And Roland's a good friend of mine. We're almost like family. So I've performed with Roland, and I've gone to events with them in England, T-Rex events, and it's a real honor. I love T-Rex. It's one of the best bands.
Of course.
Great,
The guy had
great,
one of the most-
great albums.
one of the most original voices of all time.
And a really cool, very eclectic guitar style. And what happened is, this is an interesting thing. Some people may not know. Originally the Tyrannosaurus Rex was, acoustic.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was
I
him
saw
and
that,
Steve Took. But then
There's actually a good
through,
documentary on T-Rex that I saw.
yeah, there's a couple good ones. And what happened is when he decided to go electric, June had been a former girlfriend of Eric Clapton, so she took Marc over there, and he learned some electric guitar from Eric Clapton. So he was getting some pretty good tips when he went to electric, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And he had a really cool style and sound that was all his own, and it's not played out. And he did have hits. I mean, Get It On, Bang a Gong is a bigger rock and roll hit as anything there ever was.
Of course.
And then he had some really amazing deep cuts. And T-Rex was a great live band, and they were super loud in concert as well. A lot of people don't know that, but I used to see them, and I can tell you they were super loud.
Well, that Midnight Special performance is a super rocking performance, and he's ripping on the guitar too. I mean, he's shredding, and he's also putting on a great performance.
Absolutely. So that's that's when Gloria was in the band. She was playing clavinet and singing, and before that, she would just be on the side of the stage with one of the other background singers. But she actually became more integrated into the band. They had gone to a point when they were living in Monte Carlo for a while when, a lot of excess was catching up with him. He was putting on a lot of weight. He was drinking a lot,
Yeah.
But towards the end of his life, he was actually looking really good. He was rocking again. He was ready to make a comeback. It's really, really sad that he passed away at such a young age. He was 29 years old, just shy of his 30th birthday. What happened is they were out one night. They left the place, driving down a windy road, and there was a lot of, foggy weather. And Gloria ended up hitting a tree. Marc was killed, and she woke up to this news in the hospital with her jaw wired shut. She's a singer.
Yeah, tragedy.
So she learned of it after the funeral. You know what I mean? So it's just horrifying.
Well,
And they had a young son, and it was an accident.
Marc Bolan had his fans were kind of like a religious. They were like it was like a cult almost. They loved Marc Bolan. Did the fans turn on her after that happened?
Well, some of his fans are very possessive, and so it's a mixed bag. But she left England to raise Roland in America, and he grew up in L.A. Okay.
Let me ask you something, Tony. You know all these people. Is there going to be a chapter on Tony Mann in this book, in the sequel?
People have been asking me that, but yeah,
Seems
maybe
like
someday.
you've played with
who
everybody.
knows, right?
You've played with all these people, and
I have. I've played with a lot of people. I've been lucky to play with a lot of people, but yeah, I can't really say no. I mean, maybe someday I'll write my own story, but I've learned a lot from being around these people, and I'm humbled by some of these people I've been able to play with, such as Roland and Dee Dee Ramone and Sylvain and Jane County and all these the Saints and Sammy Yaffa and all these guys that I've been able to play with. It's been I've been really lucky. So
So
You know,
back
I look on the bright side of it.
So-
But these people, I mean, you know, Gloria Jones is super talented. I mean, she should have almost had like a career like Tina Turner. And, you know, here she is trying to help Tina Turner's career and producing hits for other people, writing songs for other people, you know, helping T-Rex, all kinds of things. So, you know, she was a dynamo. She's, you know, almost without equal in a way as a female. Some of the things she's done.
So
to be honest
is
with you.
Gloria Jones?
She's super talented and amazing person.
Is
really.
she okay financially now?
Well, you know, she gets by, but you know what happened is she really turned her life over to helping people. And, okay, we've been working on this thing, the Marc Bolan School of Music and Film, for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And she mainly lives in Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Huh.
You know, she's never really got the financially what she deserved. Neither did Roland, and neither did Marc. I mean, there's been so much money made off these T-Rex songs; it's sickening.
Yeah.
And some of the rights are just starting to revert to Roland, but he deserves. He's Marc's only kid. Everybody in the world knows it, but you know, legally it's a different matter in England. You know, the parents were never married, so it's kind of frowned on.
Yeah.
In England. You know what I mean? You know, he died really without a will and died really without. You know, he was 29 years old, rock star. He wasn't thinking about dying. You know. No provisions were made. He had an offshore withholding company in the Bahamas because, you know, in the 70s, all the British rockers left England to move to mostly the West Coast because they were paying like almost 90% tax on their money.
Right.
You know, so all this when Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Elton John and all those guys moved to America and the Stones, it wasn't just because they thought America was cool and the culture was cool, which they do. Their music is, you know, their version of American music, you know, spit back at us. But they had to. They were tax exiles. Exile on Main Street. These people were tax exiles.
Right.
So, you know, that's what it was all about. And Marc had a Bahamas trust he was part of. And when he died, his house in England got robbed of a lot of his personal belongings. And the publishing rights got ripped off from the family, right out from under him, sold right out from under him.
Well, the Gloria Jones chapter in this book is one of the longer chapters, but it's a really good chapter. That could be pretty much be a book on its own. So,
yeah, but I really, people listening, you know, check out Marc Bolan's School of Music and Film, and these people need your support. Gloria Jones, who could, you know, doesn't have to be in West Africa helping these people, but she is. She's got a lot of heart and soul, and she's really working hard to give these people like possibility in their life, you know. So anyway,
all right, let's get
Gloria,
to the
I love her, and she's
very talented
amazing.
woman. So
Amazing.
the next chapter is a guy named Chris Darrow.
Oh, right.
Is that how you
Super
pronounce his name?
talented
Darrow.
guy.
He
Yeah,
was in
Chris Darrow.
of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I know the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. That's all I know of Chris Darrow.
Yeah. Chris Darrow, yeah, West Coast guy. And Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is one of the bands he was with. He was also with a band called the Corvettes, which almost made it. And, you know, he's played with a lot of people that... So it was Chris Darrow and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band founder Jeff Hanna founded the Corvettes. Okay, so they work for the Beach Boys. That Dot Records associated with the Beach Boys, produced by Mike Nesmith. And they also worked as a backup band for Linda Ronstadt and for Jon Stewart.
So the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was a backup band for Linda Ronstadt?
The Corvettes.
Okay,
Corvettes.
Yeah, okay.
Him and the Nitty Gritty founder Jeff Hanna were in the Corvettes, and they played with Linda Ronstadt and Jon Stewart and some other people.
Okay.
And you know, very influential guy, Chris Darrow, because he really you know, he worked as a sideman. He played with James Taylor on Sweet Baby James, played violin on that. And he worked with Hoyt Axton, Harry Chapin, and man, he just really like made other people sound good. Really, he's a really tasteful musician, and he did his own albums as well. He just didn't really hit as a star. But another interesting thing about him, his son Steven was in Hollywood Rose. Okay.
Later on became Guns N' Roses.
Became Guns N' Roses, okay. And and then later had a band with Tom Five from White Zombie. Okay, and I was in Angel Rot with Tom Five, which was at that point was Tom Five, Gita Gash, and myself. But Tom Five was in like the third lineup of White Zombie,
okay,
which had Psycho Head, Blowout, and Soul Crusher, that era. Uh-huh. And Tom Five was Kurt Cobain, one of his favorite guitar players. Huh. He wanted him to be in Nirvana, so he could have a whole chapter in this book as well. But the thing about Chris Darrow is a guy who added a lot of spice and flavor to other people's music. He's a talented guy, talented singer, songwriter, guitar player, and he just never hit. He just never had a hit of his own. He was friends with Kim Fowley and all these people. They played with Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. They played with they're playing with Alice Cooper. The first show that Alice Cooper changed the band name to Alice Cooper. So was at it a long time, Chris Darrow. He's still out there playing today. It's like a lot of these bands, people that are like pioneers, like New York Dolls and things like this, sometimes don't sell the amount of records as the people that copy them. Like later, the Eagles, became super huge, or Flying Burrito Brothers and these kind of bands. So, Chris Darrow is kind of like before that stuff, came from before that stuff. Uh-huh. Played with Bernie Ledden, who later was in Burrito Brothers and then co-founded the Eagles. So, Chris been playing with these type of people, this caliber of people, and was a backbone of a lot of these bands that influenced other people. So that's another aspect of being a lost rocker. Might be the one like supporting these people that get famous other than your own career.
You're a side man. You could be a lost rocker when you're just a side man.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Big time.
Next chapter is not one person, but two people, Gas Wild and Johnny Hodge. And when I was looking at YouTube videos, when I was in the airport, when I was reading this chapter, when I was waiting to get on the plane, and I just looked on YouTube and saw some performances, and I believe there was a guy named Tony Mann playing with the Reformed of these guys.
Yes. Yeah, I performed with a version of Lightning Raiders we made in New York. In order, we're making Lost Rockers movie at the time, which is yet to be released because of one of the big reasons it's legal.
All right, so tell me a little bit about Gas Wild and Johnny Hodge.
Okay.
They got a chapter together,
Okay.
two guys.
Yeah. Gas Wild and Johnny Hodge were both British guys, okay? What happened is I've known both of these guys quite a long time. I've known Gas Wild since almost as long as I've known Sam Yaffa, since the 80s. And at the time I met Gas Wild, he was playing in a band called the Mannish Boys, and they were being produced by Jimmy Miller, the producer from Motown. Johnny Hodge, I only knew in England. He never came to America until we brought him here for the Lost Rockers movie and made a new Lightning Raiders for him here. So what happened is our idea was to reunite these guys after almost 30 years, make a new Lightning Raiders, and give them a shot at making it again because they're both fantastic musicians. So Gas Wild helped form the Pretenders.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask that.
Yeah, he helped form the Pretenders, absolutely. It was Chrissie Hynde band at the time, but he got the other guys to be in the band, and Chrissie Hynde has even said that in her book and in person.
Without Gas Wild, there'd be no Pretenders, is what she said.
That's absolutely correct. And the person that recommended her to play with Gas was Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead.
Yes.
So that was an old friend of Gas from 71, before he was even in Hawkwind. They were friends. So through Gas, I got to get really close to Lemmy. He was a super amazing guy. But anyway, Gas Wild started out singing in church choir. He can sing really great. And then he was a drummer. And he got a gig playing with Johnny Thunders in Paris at the Jeebus, in a band called The Living Dead. He was also got in Chrissie Hynde band. And he helped form what became the Pretenders. But butted heads with Chrissie. He was out of the band. And that black and white kit you saw on early Pretenders tour, that black and white drum kit, was actually made for Gas, but he was kicked out and never even got to receive the kit. So that's one. I mean, this guy's had like about 10 different careers, and he's still out there rocking Gas. Okay, so another thing that happened was he would get inspired by Lemmy, and Lemmy would refer him to play with people sometimes, or tell him not to play with people that he thought were holding him back, give each other advice. So Gas would go by, heard Keith Richards lived in this house, and Gas went by and met Keith, befriended Keith, and would be like borrowing the Stones gear to do gigs. So as much people would be going to see the Stones gear as to see him play at that point. Okay. So, anyway, Gas is a rocking guy, and he was a drummer. Then he became a guitar player, frontman. Okay, and the first band he became a frontman in was a band called Lightning Raiders, and this was Johnny Hodge's band. Johnny Hodge is one of the best guitar players I ever heard. He was amazing, and he's from England. Rock and roll guitar player, kind of friends of all these psychedelic bands like Pink Fairies and things like that. Right. Okay, worked on the first Glastonbury. They helped build that big pyramid of mirrors. Have you ever seen the first Glastonbury video?
No.
And David Bowie played at that when he had the long hair and the dress and all that stuff. Arthur Brown played at it. Right. So like a lot of psychedelic and freaky music going on at the time. Okay, so Johnny Hodge was a rock guitar player, played really cool wah-wah, really great stuff. He played with an early version of Lightning Raiders at Glastonbury, okay? And then they did a single, all right, with Cook and Jones.
Steve Jones, Paul Cook. Was that pre-professionals?
Yes.
Before the
psychedelic music.
Before the Professionals and after the Sex Pistols, or was it before the Sex Pistols?
Right. No, it was after the Pistols.
Okay.
He also played with Twink, okay, from Pink Fairies. He played on Do It. He also played with Bert Jansch, the folk guitar player that Jimmy Page took Black Mountain Side from.
Now, this is Johnny Hodge or Gas Wild?
This is Johnny Hodge. This
Okay.
is Johnny Hodge.
There's a picture in here of Gas Wild playing with Hanoi Rocks. Or at least with Sam Yaffa.
That is when that was called the Love Pirates, and that's still the band that Gas still has. And at one point, Love Pirates lineup included Michael Monroe and Sam Yaffa. They'd come along and play. So they were in Gas's band at one point. Okay, so he's a happening rock guy, man.
Yeah.
He's still playing in New York. So what happened is these guys both had kind of almost like parallel careers, like bubbling under in the rock scene. Lightning Raiders had psychedelic and rock roots to it, okay? They did a single with the guys from the Pistols, right? And then one of the guys from the band, Andy Allen, quit, right? After they did a tour with Motorhead. And he quit to be in the Professionals, Andy Allen, right? He didn't even say he was leaving. John Hodge heard about it in the press that Andy Allen was leaving. So then, what happened? They got Gas as the frontman, all right? And Gas became the lead singer frontman of Lightning Raiders. And they did an album for Island Records, okay? And their manager was a coke dealer, among other things. So the manager had money. So the manager put them in Bramport Studios, which was owned by The Who, and made a great sounding album, the Lightning Raiders album, okay? And right before it was about to come out, because of some political things, which I'll tell you about, the album got dropped and didn't come out. All right, so what happened is Lightning Raiders was a one-guitar band, but then by the time Gas was in it, he was a front man, and it was a two-guitar band, almost like a punk Thin Lizzy or something, very powerful and somewhat psychedelic and rockin', and they were in the new wave of British heavy metal, like that era, okay, early 80s.
Uh-huh.
Right, so, they came out of the late 70s. And like I said, these guys are playing with guys. The bass player of Lightning Raiders was Duncan Sanderson, bass player of Pink Fairies.
Oh, there you go.
But what happened is the manager had managed a band called the Jags previously.
Yeah, that's right. I got your number written on the back of my hand, which is actually a great tune.
That's right. But what happened is the Jags didn't get paid from that hit, right? So in the meantime,
I remember this.
He started with Lightning Raiders, right? The Gordon Hale was a manager of both these bands.
They didn't get paid. Let me see if I can remember this now, because I remember the Jags didn't get paid. Their manager sued the record label. Is this right?
That's
the
right.
manager sued the record label, won the lawsuit. Once Lightning Raiders record label found out that the guy who managed the Jags was the manager of Lightning Raiders, they said, "Whoa, this motherfucker, screw him."
Right. And dropped them. And that's what happened to Lightning Raiders, and their album didn't come out.
Thanks a lot, manager.
Yeah.
That probably happens more often than people really know.
Yeah, and a lot of people get shelved because they're similar to another band that the label's promoting, and they don't want the competition, so they just tie up their time, and it's hard to keep a band together anyway. So, but anyway, that's what happened to Lightning Raiders, and then at that point, John Hodge ended up playing with Bert Jansch for almost 10 years, and going off on another tangents musically, playing with people from all kinds of different bands like Orange Juice and other bands. Gas ended up in a band called Mannish Boys with Honest John playing from The Boys and Robbie from the Crybabies, and they would play in England a lot with Hanoi Rocks around the time of the live Hanoi Rocks album. Then Gas and Mannish Boys moved to America, where they were living. Well, Gas was living with JoJo Lane, who was Denny Lane of the Moody Blues and Paul McCartney and Wings ex, yeah, and that was Gas's girlfriend when I met him. He was living in Massachusetts with JoJo Lane and being produced by Jimmy Miller, and I always had known him in the States only, and I only knew Johnny Hodge in England.
Jimmy
so
Miller.
I said, "Wow, we should reunite Lightning Raiders and have it be part of the movie." and that's what we did. So that's why you see those videos with me playing drums. I made a great band in America with Randy Gregg on bass, who's played with Angel, Thin Lizzy, and other bands. He's my best friend. And Fuzz, Dominic Lanois on the other guitar, and John Hodge on the lead guitar, and Gass's vocal. So we made an American, version of Lightning Raiders for these guys to play here, and we got their most of the album reissued on Rock Candy Records with some other songs, but the full album hasn't really been released. I have it, but it hasn't officially been released, the whole album in the proper tracking order and everything. It's a great album, and Lightning Raiders was a really cool, powerful band, and deserve a listen, and they could have been big stars, man.
Next artist, this guy's name is Rick Rivets.
Yeah, Rick Rivets is a New York guy. Okay. He went to school with Arthur Kane. And as kids, they had a band called the London Fog with 2 Gs. And they'd play like Kinks and Beau Brummels covers, right?
Yep.
So then he became friends with Johnny Genzali, who was later became Johnny Thunders. they started playing in a band which became New York Dolls. Okay? So
So Rick Rivets
these guys,
actually an original
Rick
member of the
Rivets
New York Dolls.
was one of the original guys in the Dolls.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, but him and Sparky Donovan were playing with Johnny. Okay? He left, and then Sylvain started playing with him, and Billy Murcia started playing with him.
Okay.
And then it became the New York Dolls. Yeah. All right. So then Rick Rivets and Donovan formed a new band, the Brats. They got their name from Alice Cooper. They went to Max's, and Alice Cooper called them a bunch of brats.
He said they
So
look
they
like
got their
a bunch
name
of
actually
brats.
from Alice Cooper hanging out. So how cool is that?
Yeah, Alice
okay?
Cooper said, we look like a bunch of brats. We're going to call ourselves the Brats.
Hey, man. There you go.
Sounds good to me.
So, yeah. So then their first gig was, ironically enough, was opening for the Dolls at Hotel Diplomat.
Nice.
Okay, so their singer,
now when they quit, when he left the New York, the guys that became the Dolls, was he on good terms with them when he left?
Yeah, all these guys run in the same circles. So yeah, it's not like there's any big bad blood or anything like that.
Not like the guy who sued Johansson and therefore Dave.
It's not like it's not like Chris Robeson and that kind of stuff. No, it's not like that. So still on friendly enough terms with all these guys.
Okay, to play gigs with them.
So.
Hey, how's it going? Right. You're at our gig. Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you again. So they're still, cordial.
Yeah, on friendly enough terms.
Yeah.
And so, the front man of the Brats, Keith West, who is actually still the front man of the Brats to this day, he's still playing shows. He owned a record store called the Music Box. Okay. And the guys that became Kiss used to hang out there, and all these people that became cool rockers used to hang out at Music Box and get their cool music from Keith West, and he influenced a lot of New York rock bands because he was in Queens, where a lot of these guys are from, and he was a cool guy. And the Brats kind of looked like, the Sweet or Dolls. That kind of looked the faces.
They had the rock haircut,
like Anglo rock and roll haircuts,
shag
scarves, and glam rock, looking pretty boys, look cool, badass guys. So, if you were a young rocker and you went to that store, like Howie Pyro or me or anybody that went to buy records from these guys, you were like, wow, these guys are cool. What do I listen to? And they tell you what to listen to.
Right.
So they influence a lot of people, okay? So what happened is they had the Brats, right? And they were like very Brit rock influenced, like I said, in look and sound, and everybody was. Let's face it, the Dolls. At one point, the British rockers were totally kicking ass, and everybody wanted to be like them. Like the Stones, like Zeppelin, like all these guys. So the Brats had a bunch of different lineups, right? And what happened to the Brats was they were a rock band, but pretty much a no-frills rock band in sound, basic rock, high energy, and some of their songs very like bubblegummy-ish, like almost like Bay City Rollers and things like that. Good pop, power pop rock.
Nothing wrong
sound.
with
They weren't
that.
metal. They weren't metal or anything like that. They were more rock and roll, pop, and things like this. Okay, so but cool, high energy, and they're still good. If you go, you can see the Brats. Go see them today. They're still good
going.
rock.
It's still going.
But still playing, but not with Rick right now. So Keith West still has a version of the Brats. One of the members of the Brats at one point was Scott Sheets, who wrote Fire and Ice for Pat Benatar.
Oh, nice.
So these guys are all having kind of brushes with fame. They're all talented, what I'm saying. They look cool. They have the right look. They're in New York at the right time. They're around Max's to be able to be hanging out with Alice Cooper. They're here at the right time. But what happened is Kiss started to get really popular, okay? Kind of everybody almost thought that they have to put on a show after Kiss started getting popular. Well, the first Kiss show ever in Manhattan was opening for the Brats in Wayne County, okay? And Paul Stanley was in Keith West's store, Music Box, and said, we have a new band, Kiss, and we want to open for you guys. We want to play in the city. Please put us on the bill. So they did. So it was Kiss, the Brats, and Wayne County for $1. This place
$1
for $1, and hand-drawn flyer. Playing not even a club, but in the Brats rehearsal loft.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, because there wasn't that many clubs to play at that time, and you weren't probably getting into maxes at that point.
They had to carry all their gear up to the 8th floor.
Yeah, and actually, Paul Stanley got a guitar stolen at that gig.
Nice. Good
so anyway, this is like kind of the first show in Manhattan for Kiss ever, and I think it's the first show where Paul had the star and everything. So it was the first show where they had kind of closest to their look that we know today. Whatever, and they're at the bottom of the bill.
Right.
But anyway, Kiss is opening, but then later on they're starting to catapult to fame. Once these guys saw Kiss, they were like, "Whoa, these guys are going to be huge," because Kiss rehearsed for months before they even played a show. They were really tight. They had vocals down, and anybody who was around at the time, guys from the Dolls or Sylvain, and these guys tell me Kiss played. You're like, wow, these guys can sing and play, and they get something going on. They're not just like hacks. So anyway, the Brats were later opening for the Dolls, and then Kiss started to get big. And the Brats got a record offer from Sire Records, saying they had, Ramones and a lot of cool bands on them. And they got offered, I think it was $10,000 to do their album. And I think the Ramones' first album might have cost like $15,000 or something like that. The Ramones album that we all know and love. But at the time, Kiss was starting to get big, and the Brats guys were like, well, Kiss and theatrical rock is starting to get big again, so we need money. We should put on like a magic show or do something theatrical. So we need like a $200,000 advance or some outrageous amount.
We got to hold back for more money.
So they asked for a ton of money so they could develop a stage show to compete with Kiss and these people. And the record company was like, forget that. We don't have that. You want to make your record, make it. And they should have just made the album. And I'll tell you that to this day.
So they got offered a $10,000 record deal from Sire Records. They said, no, we need a lot more than $10,000 because we want to do a whole show. So Sire Records said, we're not going to put your record out then.
That's right. There you go. Right there.
Lesson to be learned, kid. When I was in a band called American Heartbreak.
Oh, right. Cool band.
They offered this one record label who actually put our record out, wanted to offer us this amount of money. Our manager says, no, we want way more money. He negotiated us down from like $20,000 down to like $2,000. So don't get greedy, friends. Somebody wants to offer you money to put out your record. Think about it before you get greedy.
Yeah,
it's a lesson to be learned.
Right. Well, anyway, in hindsight, Keith West is like, yeah, we should have just put out the album.
Yeah. And
we would have an album today. But they did have a great song called First Rock Star on the Moon.
Yes.
Which is on the Max's Kansas City Volume 2 compilation.
I think I have that. I think I have that vinyl. I got to go look for that. It's up in my...
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's got Cherry Vanilla and all kinds of people on there. It's a cool one. So, and it's got Wayne County and a bunch of greats on there. So anyway, after that, Rick and these guys had a split. Okay, so then the Brats has been carrying on without Rick and Sparky Donovan for years now. So Rick left the Brats after that, a little bit after that Max's era. So then he put together a band called the Corpse Grinders with Arthur Kane because the Dolls had broken up. Okay, so they had the drummer from Teenage Lust, Jimmy Chris. And they had Stu Wilder on vocals, and he was the London Fog singer when they were teenagers as well that did those covers. So, and Arthur Kane was a bass player. So these guys would play CBGBs, and they put out a single called "Whites for Rights."
Yeah, so it was
kind of controversial.
Yeah, people kind of thought they were like a white power band or something like that. And
right, exactly.
Another lesson for all you kids.
Don't
mix politics with rock and roll. It might come back to bite you in the ass. Just play rock and roll.
Yeah, that's what I say, but you couldn't really tell it to the Clash or some of these people.
Yeah,
but
well.
Anyway. Everybody isn't
I'm
the Clash.
telling it to the Clash. Okay, all right, enough of that.
Anyway, enough preaching. Make good rock and roll whatever you think it is
Yes.
for you. But anyway,
Be careful when
Arthur
you
Kane.
be careful when you do your
there wasn't any
politics.
reception. The thing wasn't getting big, and people were kind of pissed off about all this stuff. And Arthur quit the band, and then Rick made the Slugs. Okay, which cool rock band, right? And they had a couple singles come out. He occasionally performs with Walter Lure, this band called MFU for a while, right?
When he plays with Walter Lure, is it the Waldos?
No, it's called MFU.
Okay,
he hasn't done that for a long time.
Okay, he's not on
And in
that
fact,
Waldos
Walter
record.
Lure just played LAMF a bunch of shows the other night
nice.
with Clem Burke
Oh, nice.
and the bass player from the Replacements and Wayne Kramer on guitar.
Oh,
And Kenny Stinson.
Tommy Stinson?
Tommy Stinson.
You ever hear
Tommy
that?
Stinson,
I'm sure
Clem
you've
Burke, and
I'm
Wayne
sure you've
Kramer.
heard that Rent Party record, Walter Lure Rent Party.
Yeah.
Fantastic album.
Walter Lure's fantastic. He's great. If you go see the Waldos, they're great. He still does the same thing. He never stopped doing it. He's great. So I like Walter a lot, and fantastic guy. But he did the LAMF, and people loved it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I used to see the Heartbreakers, and they were kick ass. They were great.
How old are you?
I'm 51.
Oh, okay, you're still a kid.
But a little kid, I used to go see shows as a kid. I mean, I saw the Who play Tommy and all kinds of stuff. I saw early. I didn't see that Kiss show with the Brats, but I did see the first big Kiss show, which is Academy of Music, as a kid. And that's the first show they had their sign at, and that was before their album came out.
Oh,
so
nice.
that's 1973. So, and I used to go see T-Rex, and I met Marc, and that's how I met Gloria and all those people.
You were about 13 years old at that time.
Well, when I met Gloria Jones, I was 9 years old.
Huh. Where was your mom and dad? They let you go out and party and go to shows?
Yeah, my parents always encouraged all the music stuff I liked, and they always supported me in arts and music. And sadly, my mom passed away, but my dad used to take me to all kinds of concerts, and my uncles did, and my family's always encouraged me to go to shows, and being in proximity to a lot of cool shows. I've been lucky enough to go to some and get to meet some of these people and play with them later on. So been lucky with that way. But thing about, I think, Rick Rivets is, he's another guy who's like an influential guy. I just saw him recently. We had a party here and he came to it, and his health has been not so good lately, but he's bouncing back and he's starting to play again. So, great. Keep it going and show him how it's done. He's a real cool rock guitar player. He's not a virtuoso guy, but he plays cool rock and roll. That's kind of music that we like. So
yeah,
right
attitude guitar player.
Yeah, he's a song-oriented rocker,
right?
And he plays cool. And in the day, these guys looked cool as anybody, and they could have been a big band, but they didn't put out the record, and other records didn't have the push, that the other guys got. Didn't have the money behind it like Kiss or other bands like this.
So I think we're going to end part 3 here, Tony Mann,
okay.
If that's okay. Yeah, I was going to end on Cherry Vanilla, but I think Cherry Vanilla is a good one to start an episode with. Because Cherry Vanilla, very good story on Cherry Vanilla. She's a very charismatic woman.
And she's important in the history of rock and roll in a number of ways.
And had a very big part in Cream magazine and a lot of stuff.
A very big part in making David Bowie famous.
Exactly.
As well.
Stay tuned for that, friends, on the next episode. All right. Tony Mann, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This book, once again, the book is called Lost Rockers, Broken Dreams, and Crashed Careers. And Tony Mann.
It's on Powerhouse Books.
It's
distributed by Random House. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it through Amazon. Lost Rockers.
Yeah, and
check it out.
I would prefer that you go to rockandrollgeek.com and click the Amazon link on this episode.
Oh, yeah. You can buy it through Rock and Roll Geek right there.
That way I'll get about
$5 for Michael Butler.
I'll get a nickel.
I'm all for it, man. And this book is great. It's a beautiful book.
Oh, it's a very good Christmas gift. If you're looking, it's a good-looking book, very slick, well put together, and it's a great, fast read. If you're a fan of the history of rock, you need this book, friends. So, Tony Mann, thanks so much for coming on. I'll have you back on probably next week, and we'll finish this thing up if that's okay with you.
I'm all for it. Thanks again, Michael, for having me on.
There you go, friends. I'm going to close out now with a Brats tune. Before I do that, let me tell you how you can reach me. rockandrollgeek.com is where you can find the show. rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know what you think of this and all the Lost Rockers episodes. And if you like these episodes and if you like the book, find Tony Mann on Facebook and tell him you heard him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. He would appreciate it. He wouldn't think it was, then he would know he wasn't wasting his time doing 4 episodes of the Rock and Roll Geek Show. Thank you so much for listening, friends, and thank you everybody who donated. Please keep the donations coming. Without your donations, this show will die a horrible, putrid, stench-filled death like some of these rockers.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.